Hi, I'm Tom. This is what we call a January thaw, and so I thought I'd take advantage of the nice weather and show you a couple ways that I've seen people really can mess up their tractor, especially in the wintertime. So a little bit of my history: I was in the Navy as a Seabee, and I was a heavy equipment operator. I also grew up on a dairy farm, and I've always loved tractors, so I've always spent every possible second I could talking with people about tractors, visiting people who had tractors, talking to the repair and the salesman. It's just been pretty much what I've done my entire life, and I want to share a few things with you. So with it being wintertime, a lot of you use your tractors to clear snow, like me, and tire chains are a great thing to put on the back of your tractor. They give you way more traction than just the tires, and they also give you a little bit more ballast. These things are heavy, and a little bit more ballast on the back is never a bad thing. However, people put chains on the front of their tractors, and this is probably one of the most simple ways you can to destroy the front end of your tractor, and I'm going to tell you why. Remember back in high school we did the little trick where you took a record player and you put a piece of paper on the record near the spindle, and it went around just fine. You put the piece of paper on the end of the record and it flew off. Well, pretend this tractor is sitting on that record and going around like this. So these don't have open differentials like your car does. These are what they call front wheel assist. It's not four-wheel drive. A four-wheel drive is like a skidder or one of those big articulated tractors. So these are two-wheel drive with front wheel assist. They don't have an open differential, so something has to slip when you make a corner. If I take this tractor and I want to make a sharp left-hand corner, this tire right here wants to turn as many times as that tire, which has to go way out around. So something has to slip, and it's going to be this one. If you take your tractor and you do a donut as best you can, you're going to see where the inside's a little tore up. That's because this is spinning. You put chains on this thing, especially on tar, and what's going to happen, that inside tire wants to turn as much as the outside tire does, and it's not gonna because you got chains on it. So your point of failure is going to be somewhere in your drive line. And I wish I had $1 for every time I've been to a dealership and seen a tractor, and I don't care what color it was, I've seen all colors, sitting out back with blocks under it and the front end out. And you know, the last repair guy, and I was talking about him, like, oh, what happened to that tractor? And he's like, oh, so you just can't teach some people anything. And well, hopefully I know none of my readers are going to do this, but maybe your neighbor does, and you can stop him when he does it. So, for the love of God, do not put tire chains on the front of your tractor unless you, for some reason, want a new tractor or a new front end. Don't do it. You see a lot of these tractors for sale secondhand. It says, you know, divorced front end, won't go into four-wheel drive, whatever. That's why they've torn the front end out of it. So don't do that. Another really great way to ruin the front end of your tractor is to have improper ballast on your machine. And the tractor guys beat this to death. But it seems like I still know tons of people, they buy a new tractor, $30,000 tractor, and they, for whatever reason, refuse to fill their tires or put a counterweight on or whatever. The rough rule of thumb is about 60% of your weight should be on the back of the tractor and 40% on the front. The front end of the tractor is not designed to have that load on it. You have to have something to counter it. Because what happens is you want these tires are matched for the tractor, so it's kind of like you know, you have a four-wheel drive truck. You don't put great big tires on the back and then tiny tires on the front and think that nothing's going to happen. So kind of the same thing with this. You've got great big tires on the back and small tires on the front, but the difference is this machine has been designed for the difference in tires. What happens is you don't have enough weight on the back and you've got that load on the front. So the back tires are slipping, okay, because you don't have enough weight on it. You got all the weight on the front. The front tires are gripping, and there's just enough inertia, just enough that you're going to break something. And usually it's your front end. Now, a lot of people will say, you know, I put chains on or whatever because I can't turn when I'm plowing. And I scratch my head and I say, you know, you get your loader or whatever's on float, just pull the joystick back just enough so that your front end gets traction again. And yeah, you might have a little bit of a mess to clean up, but you know what's a bigger mess to clean up is all the parts of your tractor that just fell on the ground because you tore the front end out of it. And it's just one of those things that I just can't seem to understand why people don't heed the advice of all the people who like me have seen this happen. So make sure you got plenty of weight on the back, loaded tires. It depends on what you prefer and where you live. You know, if you live in a milder climate, you can get away with water. I put beet juice in mine. It's environmentally friendly. It doesn't rot the rims out. And beet juice is heavier than water and windshield washer fluid. I know people put windshield washer fluid in, and you know, I don't care what you put in there. If you're putting something, people still put calcium in there, which, you know, we've already learned that isn't necessarily the best thing, but it's better than nothing, I guess. And then some sort of implement often is what you need. Even though you got loaded tires, it's not quite enough. So with a small tractor like this, you generally need something kind of heavy on the back, and then you're pretty much good to go. So I have the snow pusher and bucket off this tractor because it's easier to get it in the shed. The snow pusher is huge. So if I don't need it, I'm just not going to have it on. But I want to talk for a second about something that people do with their buckets and whatever implement they have on the front of their tractor. So these tractors, the way that they're designed to go straight. Pick things up, put them down all day long. People start pushing on stuff, and that's where you get into trouble. And also lifting stuff sometimes can get you in trouble. And my uncles always used to buy the Shibora Ford tractors, and my cousins are a little rough on them. So I saw some of the stuff that happened to those tractors when I was little, and I would ask my dad what happened to it, and he kind of told me not so many words, you know, what he thought about how they ran their tractors. So these tractors made to push straight. There's only a couple pins back here, one on each side, put like 1/2 inch or 5/8 pins. You got one there, and then you got your cylinders. And people start pushing on stuff, especially if you push at an angle, you end up yamming your tractor loader off to one side or the other, and that's a bad thing. You're not going to straighten that out. It's going to be like that forever. The other thing people do is they start prying on stuff with their bucket, or they lift on stuff with their bucket off to one side too much. You're trying to pop up a rock, or you know, you got 2 hooks on here, but you only got 1 chain hooked on, and next thing you know, you've yammed your bucket, so it's sitting like this, and you're not going to fix that either. I've seen this. My uncle's tractor, one of them was yammed in every way you could possibly talk about. It was this way, and the bucket looked like, well, the bucket, I don't know what they did with it. I don't know if they were pushing on rocks or stumps, but the bucket bottom, the cutting edge was peeled up, so it was kind of like this. I've also seen the tops of the buckets like this. People wrap a chain around it, and so what I've seen is people trying to pull stumps. That's a pretty good one. You know, people trying to pull it out backwards with a loader, or pull it up, whatever, and something shifts, and you've either, like I said, you've destroyed the plumb of your bucket, or you end up just crushing the top of the bucket by that chain. You know, you got a drawbar in the back that's perfect. It's what it's designed for. It's designed to pull. But that's another problem, and I want to tell you about that real quick. Some of the older farm tractors, like my Farmalls for one, they had a great big tie rod cylinder on it that ran the drawbar. And in the sales literature, they would show you with the drawbar sitting on a block of wood off to one side, and you could lift the tire up, and you could either change the width of your tractor or change the tire, and that was great. These tractors with a 3-point hitch, they're not designed to do that. These are lift only. There's no power down. It's kind of like the old trip loaders where they lift, power up, gravity down. You know, you got that little dial under your seat that tells you how fast the rate of drop is going to be, and that's because it's gravity. There's no power down. So people don't want to use the drawbar for whatever reason, they put a trailer hitch mover, I guess they call them, on the 3-point hitch. If you're just around your driveway, that's fine, you know, but people, number one, they hook on the stuff that's too big for the tractor, which is a terrible idea. And then they go too fast, which is also a terrible idea. If you want to go fast, go buy a Mustang or something. Don't get a tractor. Tractors are slow, and they're dangerous if you go fast. People complain because the tractors back up too slow and stuff like that. But what happens is you got a trailer on the back and you stop quick. Well, you don't have power down, you only have power up. So what happens is your 3-point hitch goes like this, and now you've just ruined your center of gravity on your tractor. And especially if your trailer weighs more than your tractor, or you don't have it, let's say you don't have it tongue heavy, you got it kind of on the back, you're going to flip your tractor over and you're going to ruin your tractor and maybe you. So trailer movers, they're okay if you're just moving around your dooryard, but overall I wouldn't be using a trailer mover. Use your drawbar. They're down there for a reason. That's what they're for. They're for drawing your implement. 3-point hitch is to pick things up and put them down, and it also was designed to keep your tractor from flipping over backwards when you have an obstruction. Like say you got this blade on, you're plowing, you hit a rock, well the tractor won't flip over because this top link will stop you. That doesn't help you at all if you've defeated all that by using your tractor for something that's not intended. So trailer movers, it's kind of a curse and a blessing at the same time. Just people don't understand physics or whatever. So please, if you're going to do that, make sure that you are aware of what you're doing, how much your thing weighs, how you've loaded it, all that stuff. There's a lot of things that can weigh in, and you can kill yourself so fast that, or I don't care if you're Lightning McQueen, your reflexes are not snappy enough to stop you from an incident like that. So like I said, there's tons of ways to break your tractor, and I'm not going to cover all those today, but I do want to discuss one more thing, and that's what I see this time of year, because we have short days, and people, you know, the tractors, they don't come with enough lights on them, and people are always wiring extra stuff on their tractors, and the alternator might not be designed for that much. They hook them into the key switch, which maybe the fuse isn't designed for that much, and then they run into problems. So what they do is they just strip one of the wires somewhere, they find something on a switch circuit, and they tap into it, and next thing you know, boom, they blow the fuse somewhere. So, okay, we got a fuse box, we'll take that 5-amp fuse out, put a 10-amp fuse in there. Boom, blows it again. So put a 15-amp fuse in there, or maybe some people just say, screw it, I don't have any fuses and I need to use this tractor right now. So they just bypass the fuse altogether. And what happens is you energize that circuit, and now your tractor's burned to the ground, and you're out of a tractor. So be really careful about adding electrical things to your tractor. Make sure that you know what the amp draw is. Make sure you know what your alternator output is, and you don't make it so that when you turn the switch off that your stuff is still on, because then you go and have a dead battery. So which goes to the last thing I want to discuss is, you know, this time of year all the rodents are looking for a great place to hide. And you know, I don't pop my truck hood all the time. I don't pop the car hood, but you got to pop your tractor hood pretty frequently, because this is just a great place for rodents. They love to climb up in there, especially up in this area. You know, they get a nice little nest going on, and you can short stuff out and burn your tractor up with that. They chew wires, so a lot of bad things can happen. And especially if you have it in like your barn or your garage or something, and then your tractor catches on fire and the whole place burns down, and I don't want to see that happen to you. So the daylight's getting short, so I'm going to call it a day. I appreciate you hanging out with me for a few minutes, and I really hope that you take some of my words and put those to good use. If you have comments or concerns, I always want to hear them down bottom. And if you haven't already, please take a moment and subscribe to the channel. and I hope you have a great afternoon or rest of your day, and I appreciate you watching. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.